Now, we were talking Chris Holmes, the British Carp Angling Championships just now, and he said that Mark Hutchinson might get a chance to call us. Mark is one of the best casters there are around, and I'm delighted to say he joins us on the line now. I haven't spoken to him for a long time, so it's a real pleasure. Good morning, Hutch. How you doing, mate?
Good morning. Good, mate. It's we're line second at the minute, so we got twitchy feet. So
yeah, I was going to say, if I hear a buzzer going, you're quite welcome to drop the phone, run and catch it. So I won't be offended. But
that's okay.
Thank you very much for calling. Now, I'm sure all of our listeners, whether they're match anglers, pleasure anglers, or serious hardcore carp anglers, would like to add a little bit of distance to their cast. Do you mind just running them through the sort of, quick sort of easy step of how they can do it?
Yeah, I mean, one of the main things that a lot of people are doing, obviously I teach casting as a living as well. A lot of them, what they do is when they turn up, is the main thing is underfilled reels. So if, they've probably got, typically last weekend there was a guy that was teaching, and he was probably 100, 150 yards short of line on his reel. So immediately on that one, you are going to be gaining distance by putting line on the reel. We swapped him over to a reel that I've got exactly the same reel. Within minutes, he was putting 30 yards.
That's interesting, because that's long distance carping, because that is one of the biggest problems I ever see when I take kids fishing is, they only have half, they've got no chance of casting because they only have half, and I didn't realise that you'd get sort of serious carpers with the same problem. And again, anyone listening now, what would your advice be? Like, how close to the lip would you do it? Because if you put too much on, it all spills off and you get bird's nest.
That's great, yeah. I mean, the best thing to do, if you're using something like a lot of the good Shimano's, the top of the range and stuff, you can get away with slightly overfilling them. I mean, what I always do is I'll overfill the reel, I'll go down the lake or down to a field with just a lead on, I'll cast it down the field. You probably get a bird's nest first go if you have overfilled it quite a bit, and then basically you chop it off at the bird's nest and retie the braided leader on, and that normally gives you the maximum amount of line that you can actually have on that reel.
Yeah, so you really push it to the limit, yeah.
Yeah, right to the limit, yeah. As much as you can get on that. If I can put another extra 100 yards on it, I'll class it as 100 yards of free line, if you know what I mean. So,
yeah, I'm with you, yeah.
And it's definitely something it would definitely gain you distance. The other thing is what a lot of people do at long range is they're still trying to use 0.35 line and stuff like that, which is like we class it in the carp angling side as 15-pound line. The best thing to do really is to drop down to a 0.30 or 0.28, depending on the water if it's weed free.
Yeah, and what would they be? Sort of 10 and 12?
10 and 12, yeah. I mean, I class 0.28 as a 10-stroke 12, especially for 10-stroke 12, depending on what make of line it is as well.
Yeah, sure.
You get certain makes of line. Typically, the Ultima will break. The 12 is 0.31, but that'll break it without that breaking at 20 pound on the scale. So
yeah.
So it's still a thin line, but very strong. So if you drop down to a 0.28, you're still breaking at about the 16 pound, which is a good strong line still.
Yeah,
so.
definitely. And you can land any fish. I mean, like you say, if there's weed, it's a bit different, but you can land any fish on 12-pound line, can't you?
Oh, without a doubt, yeah. It's a few of my mates actually fish. They use Daiwa Centre and 8-pound line, and they're fishing quite weedy waters. I'm quite surprised they land so many fish. But like they're saying, the amount of pressure that you're actually applying is very little. Yeah. Compared to what you think you are.
I was going to say, I don't know if you've ever done it, but again, sometimes if you just want to straighten your line and stretch it a bit, anyone who's ever done it, you tie your line to a tree or a gate post and then bend the rod, and you'd snap the rod probably before you snap full line. I mean, maybe not a 3-pound test curve carp rod, but you know what I mean, don't you? You've got to really, really pull.
Yeah, I mean, we've done some tests on it, and when you actually get 4 pound of pull on scales, it's quite surprising how much the rod is actually. You can't actually exert much more than that sort of pressure sometimes.
No, that's right.
And it's quite surprising how much you can actually apply to it. Yeah. And with the test that we've done on that, you can actually get away with quite a thinner line. I mean, the Europeans, I know, use some of the guys that I've taught have been using 0.20 line for carp fishing.
I met your buddy. He said to say hello to you. I've forgotten his name now. The Belgian guy. I met him at the British.
Danny Muskoff.
That's right, yeah. I said hello to him on your behalf, and he said say hello back. Yeah, I met him at the British Surfcast. Lovely guy. And he does look like an Olympic discus thrower or something, doesn't he? But
he's the daddy of the daddies, as they put it.
He certainly is. But I mentioned yesterday to Chris, I always remember your advice. You've got to really give it some welly, haven't you? Try and break the rod, because the rod won't break.
Yeah, if you break, I mean, if carp angling's a direct overhead chuck, I mean, obviously you've seen me cast off the floor and so forth. You're basically unsponsored by free spirit. If you break a free spirit rod, casting overhead, simple as that, send it back. We can tell if it's been bust through.
Yeah, sure.
Misuse, if you know what I mean, is entangled around the tips and stuff like that. But,
yeah, or shutting a car door, yeah.
Yeah, stuff like that. And I've yet not to break a free spirit rod. I've tried my hardest. I broke most rods that people have given me, but it's something where you can really abuse the rods. And once you've got the technique outweighs power. And once you've got the technique, is then of really applying get as much power out of that, or much energy into that rod.
And this is testing you, because when I filmed with you, obviously people are watching you, but just on the radio now, you can't put your hands above your head, but just describe that casting action for me, please, Mark.
Well, the casting action I do to get an accuracy as well is to keep my arms very straight. So my right arm is a very straight arm, straight above my head. I'm putting all my weight onto my back foot, and I've got half the drop of the rod. I mean, that's you start as a starting point. If you've got a powerful rod, half the drop, softer the rod, shorter the drop.
Okay.
And you're putting all the weight onto the back foot, and you're actually going to be stepping into the cast. So you're actually going to be stepping as far as you can forward, and as you step, keeping a straight right arm, you need to pull the left hand as fast as you can into the chest. And the quicker you do that, obviously that increases the lead speed. And the quicker that lead goes overhead, the further it will go.
Brilliant.
And it's as simple as that. And but the bigger step you can take, the more, we class it as, or I class it as free energy. If you watch a javelin throw, it's probably the best way. And, they're actually all the weight is onto their front foot after they've let go of that javelin. And that is exactly, if you look at that sort of style of a throw, that's exactly the same style as a javelin, is what I'm doing.
Brilliant.
And it's one of the main things as well, if you can use braided leaders, is any compression or any energy you put into it goes straight into the blank.
Yeah,
so
sure.
It's not being absorbed by the stretch in the mono.
No stretch, yeah, that's right. And also braided leader's going to help stop crack-offs.
It does, yeah. I mean, the braided leader compared to mono is a lot. I mean, for me, if I had my own lake, I would actually insist if it's leaders, it would be a braided leader, because they're not. It's probably a third of the size of a mono leader.
Definitely.
And if you're going to, I mean, I've never had a crack off or never had a frap up with a braided leader, and I can actually recall. And I'll probably go and get one next week. There you go.
Mark, I could speak to you all morning, but I've got to go to a break. But I really do appreciate you taking the time while you're in the middle of fishing of such an important match and you're lying in second place. But I'm sure there's some great points there that listeners can try and put a few extra yards on their cast. And if they Google you, they can always book a casting lesson. Yeah.
There's plenty of stuff online. I'll be doing the casting, overhead chucking.
Yeah.
And whether it's match angling, sea angling, carp angling, it's all there to be used exactly the same style.
Great stuff.
And hopefully they'll put a few more fish on the bank for them.
Really, I can say that's what it's all about as well. Great to hear. Mark, I hope you get one more fish and go from second to first. Give my regards to Simeon, and thanks very much for taking the trouble to join us. I hope to see you sooner rather than later. Cheers, buddy.
That's okay. Thanks very much. Cheers. Bye now. Bye.
Cheers.